Good morning. Welcome to EECA Market Update. We've just opened the session, and so we've got a number of people rolling in. We'll just wait a minute or so before we start the session, but we'll be getting underway very shortly. Thank you. Tēnā koutou katoa, he mihi nui katoa kua te ai te rene, ngā mui, ngā mihi te hina hui, ko pōbū takawangoa. Nō re, tēnā koutou katoa. Welcome to EECA Market Update for the month of December. The session has been recorded this morning. Appreciate some of you are just piling in out of your last meeting as I've already started, but we will share the recording afterwards. Just run through a little bit of housekeeping. The session has been recorded. If we could ask you to please use the Q&A function and not the chat function. This will enable us to answer the questions and everyone to be able to see the questions and the answers. And as you exit the session at the end, you will get a quick survey to answer. Hopefully you'll have time to do that. If you are rushing off to your next meeting, you will get a follow-up link in the survey, in the email from us with a link to the survey, a copy of the recording and the slides. Thank you very much for taking time out of your busy day to join our webinar today. As I said in the introduction, I am Paul Bull. I am taking over and leading the market update. I have the pleasure of leading the regional and sector program team, which is our team which engages with business enterprise across the public, private and local government, and driving activity from an EECA perspective across that space. One of the other changes that you may well have seen over the last couple of days, if you've been to our website, is some fresh new colours and a whole lot of new information as we look to consolidate information that we had on our GenLess website that we were running onto a single website, being the EECA website, which just makes a single place to be able to go and find all the information that you need. So if you haven't been on the website in a little while, good opportunity to just go on there and find a little bit more additional information that previously you might have had to go across those two websites. We will be enhancing the information and a bit more detail on that website over the coming period of time. Got an action-packed agenda today. So have Marcos up first, our Chief Executive, giving a highlights for the year. I'll be sharing some information around the challenges with natural gas. Ollie will be talking around biomass, Camilla on our demand flex opportunities, and Richard coming in towards the end talking about the heavy transport space. And then we will have time at the end for Q&A. Please feel free to put questions into the Q&A as we go along. If it's a simple question, one of the team may well just drop an answer in. Otherwise, we'll wait to the Q&A session at the end. And we're hoping to have the session finished just before midday so that you can move on to your next meeting in time for midday. Without further ado, I will pass over to Marcos as our first speaker this morning. Thank you, Marcos.
Kia ora koutou. Nice to see everybody. Thanks for joining us at the last EECA update of the year. I'm not going to spend too long talking about sort of the achievements. What I will highlight some of pretty awesome projects that are now live, but I'll also talk about what we're doing going forward, where the priorities are. Just take a moment to reflect on energy at the moment. It has been, probably more so in recent memory, a huge issue for the country. We've been hit with a dramatic decrease in gas availability and a dry year last winter that created a whole set of actions. And you would have seen, or you may have heard of the Frontier Energy Review and the action plan that the government has published. So there are a range of what I would call probably supply side interventions that are being investigated. So, for example, LNG terminal RFI out there. But the message that from our side is that and the message to businesses is we need to act now. We need to act now to try and capture your energy efficiency benefits, but also act up now on thinking of what the transition from gas is going to be, because cheap gas, the $8 a GJ of gas availability that some businesses have been built on, I don't think is coming back. So, and we know that through our conversations with the sector and with businesses, it is the gas and electricity and energy contracts are providing a lot of pressure on people's bottom lines. We're here to help. And Paul is going to talk about some of the things that we're doing right now that have a meaningful impact, and it's low hanging fruit, but it can get you 10 to 20% savings off your gas bill. So we're really keen to support that, but we're also keen to support planning for some of the bigger, more complicated changes. So we're here, we want to be here for energy users, about empowering energy users. But the key message is that, if people are sitting on their hands expecting cheap, affordable gas to come back, I would encourage you to stop sitting on your hands and to act now. The sooner you act, the better it's going to be. So we've got a supply side affordable gas crunch that the government is exploring how to deal with, so that we've got security of supply over dry years, and we've got gas into critical industries. But for the wider economy, we have options. So let's use those options. Right. Next slide, please. I will canter very quickly through just highlighting some significant achievements. Some of them have been multi-year, so just come off this year, but the electric arc furnace, we're really proud of that. It's like a win-win-win, huge amount of emission savings, massive efficiency improvements. Plus, it's created a whole recycling stream for scrap steel that all gets, previously had been shipped overseas. So we just see this as a massive win. The Alsco biomass boiler in Christchurch has gone live. So huge conversion with biomass. They've retained a whole bunch of backup and flexibility. And then same with Waikato Hospital with the steam boiler. And that was through the State Sector Decarbonization Fund. So we're really proud of these big achievements. We don't talk a lot about it, but it's in many ways the shoulder, of the giants that we stand on when it comes to energy savings is through the regulatory program. So at EECA, we are a regulator. We regulate the minimum energy performance standards of products, and year on year, we do that jointly with Australia. And so since we've introduced that regime nearly 20 years ago, we've got about 108 PJs of saved energy. And so that is a massive amount of just basically efficiency gains for the country. And we want to see that continue. So I'm really proud of the work that that team has done there in terms of delivering the goods. We've also ran last winter a public engagement. So we've got the regulatory arm. You know, the second lever that we pull at EECA is our information and motivation, and that's across all energy users. We're talking communities, individuals, and then businesses. And so some of that information with businesses is through case studies and demonstration, but we also do public engagement. And you may have seen the winter energy saving campaign we ran last winter. We just finished crunching the numbers on the ROI on that, and it's 4.6 to 1. So for every dollar that was spent from government, we saw energy users save $4.6 of savings. The 90% of key message take up, and 85% of people found it informative and helpful. So we're really proud of that result. On the demonstration side, and this is where our targeted funding as well, that's a third lever, regulation, information, and funding and support. We've got solar on farms, and that was stood up as a government priority very quickly. We are now supporting 40 demonstration sites across the whole country. They will be announced very shortly where they are. That demonstration fund was oversubscribed, and this is just really the start of the journey for us as we pile into unlocking that solar and battery resources for as many businesses as possible, because a farm is just a type of business. So we start with solar on farms, and we think about how might we gain lessons there to accelerate market take up elsewhere. And so a lot of the work we do is in supporting that market action by removing barriers, either information barriers or coordination barriers or demonstration to de-risk technologies. Next slide, please. And I touched a little bit on this. Paul's going to go into more detail. Just wanted to recognize, because his team and a lot of the team, they're in the trenches, they're in the regions, boots on the ground, very much out of Wellington, and so sometimes they're not, as visible to as many people. But I think they're doing great work. We held a number of workshops around the country as people were rolling off their gas contracts, and they were being shocked with quotes that were 2 or 3 times the price per unit they were paying before, which added huge amounts to their potential bottom line. So we very quickly responded by holding these, we call them workshops, but they're really sort of action shops. It was essentially about helping users get resources to act right now to reduce their gas costs and get resources to think about planning for what next. So that's what these walkthrough energy assessments are about, the audits, the feasibility studies, and business cases. It's also an opportunity for folks in the region to connect with others who are a bit further along the journey so they can learn from them. I'm very convinced that, given that most energy resources are regionally based and demand can be broken down by region, that we should approach the opportunity at a regional level. So a lot of the work that we are now doing is continuing the strong relationship with businesses, but doing a lot more work on the ground to connect with the EDBs, the lines companies, the councils, iwi, trusts, and energy users, so that we can flush out these opportunities and identify these common barriers. So the message here is, as new challenges arise, we are up for it, and we are small but mighty and agile. Next slide, please. So talking a little bit more now around, for us, what our priorities are, where we are going. If some of you might have been taking really great notes since my last EECA update, you would have, at the last market update, I talked about the shift from going from passive funds to more proactive platforms and a platform play. And so that's what this technology and fuel enabler is about. It allows us to have a set of priorities to support the government's objectives and then go into them. And so here are the priorities of and the activities that we are currently really going into. Wood energy and woody biomass is a key priority. We are funding some of the large scale uh, engineering feasibility studies with a conditional repayment grant to try and see if we can get some of these large production plants off the ground. And at the same time, we also are exploring how to fund aggregation hubs. And that's to try and overcome this supply and demand challenge where you've got a lot of forest owners and, um, diffused supply, and also energy users just want a stable contract with certainty of supply. And so we think that an aggregation hub is going to address that. It's been done before in EECA's history successfully in Southland with the Wood Energy Hub. We want to kind of take those lessons and then build on it here. We think the prize is big. In Northland, for example, through the Regional Energy Transition Accelerator work, we expect that over 95% of stationary heat requirements can be met through locally sourced woody biomass. So we think it is a big play. We also are exploring biogas and organic feedstock. So we're doing a cross-country, bottom-up organic feedstock work that we'll also, make visible to the market. And that's building off the work from Becca and others who did the kind of top level strategic case. So a lot of this is about informing the market so that businesses have the best information on hand to act. Very high temperature heat pumps. You may have heard of high temperature heat pumps, but have you heard of very high temperature heat pumps? So this is the stuff that's kind of steam based, 95 degrees up to 200 degrees. It's big. They're more in the demonstration phase than fully rolled out, but we think there's probably about 300 to 400 applications in New Zealand that could benefit from this. And so this is what I mean about the planning. I know that there are some sectors that where gas, the transition away from gas is very tricky, and we're not here to force anyone to move faster than they want to, but we want to see businesses thrive. We want to see new growth across all the economy, and so we've got to help people use energy as efficiently as possible. We're seeing real benefits. The walk-through audits, 10 to 20% of gas savings, right? Then and there. Plus, we know there are technologies out there like very high temperature heat pumps that are available to help some of those businesses that don't see uh, a transition path for them away. So we want to help you plan and help the market plan for that so that when the business decisions are ready, you've got the best foot to put forward. But we also want to help with the challenge right now, which is how do we help businesses reduce their energy costs? How do we help users manage energy and make the most of it? Solar and farms we talked a little bit about. So next slide, please. And then I think finally, this is a little bit more at the system level, but it's an absolute kind of another huge win or opportunity for us that we are chasing is around flexibility and efficiency. If we can unlock as we go through the transition to, renewables and batteries and solar and flexibility with cold stores or any other type of demand that can be shifted, we see massive benefits in being able to then avoid spending a lot of money on building new assets. So, i.e., new poles and wires. So, if we can flex rather than having to build an electricity system to deal with the peaks that only happen 5% of the time, if we can build an electricity system that deals with a much more level demand curve, that is an overall hugely efficient outcome and way better optimization of infrastructure and assets. And we think the size of the prize for New Zealand is about $6 billion of deferred capital that we can get through this type of distributed flexibility energy resources. So, and we also think the costs of flexibility are a lot cheaper than new generation. Why isn't it happening on its own right now? It's same reasons as why isn't new generation happening on its own right now? There are barriers, and there are some signal challenges, price signal challenges that we're working with the EEA and ComCom on. But there's also a whole bunch of people don't know what they don't know. So we've partnered with six EDBs. We're willing to partner with anyone, and we're rolling out a whole bunch of flexibility scaled pilots at the city or town level to try and really prove up the value um, for the EDBs and Transpower, but also prove up the value for those businesses and communities. So that is an area that we are really passionate about. Uh, We've got out our efficient demand flexibility initiative. So that's a fund for repayable loans to unlock efficiency. And we've got an energy saving contingency RFI out there as well. So there's a lot of good work that we are doing. Hopefully, you've got a good sense of the priorities for us. I guess if I had to wrap up to my key messages, are that recognize that it's challenging right now in the energy context. Cheap gas is not coming back, so we need to work together to move on. EECA is here to help right now, but we're also here to help plan for the transition. And how we want to help is growing the amount of energy we have through solar, biomass, biogas, but also making use of it, of the making use of what we have more efficiently, and then demonstrating new technologies that we can think will really help unlock further wins, like very high temperature heat pumps and flexibility. That is me.
Thanks, Marcos. A great update and highlights reel for the year. I'm going to just jump straight into support for natural gas users. So the first pictorial you have in front of you shows a whole lot of dotted lines on there. The challenge that the industry is facing today is the gas fields that we currently are extracting gas from coming towards the end of their life, and the amount of available gas and gas reserves in those fields is diminishing fast. And every time someone tries to resize a gas field, it is unfortunately going the wrong way, and the projections on the amount of gas available into the future keeps coming down. While there's a whole work stream looking at opportunities for bringing new gas online in terms of new exploration, LNG, biogas, the challenge in the short term is the only gas we have available is that which is stored in the existing gas fields that gas has been extracted from. Irrespective of whether it's 2030 or 2035 or 2040, the bottom of the graph, it suggests as we come to that point, we're at around 20 PJs. Next slide, please. 20 PJs a year is a little bit of a challenge when you look at this slide, which shows us the amount of gas being used currently. And so I'm just going to quickly walk you through that. So the blue line is electricity generation, and I appreciate it only goes out till 2023, but 2024 doesn't look too dissimilar, maybe a blip up for electricity generation. So let's call that 40 PJs. Gas used for feedstock, another 40 PJ. And for those that are asking the question, what is that? That's gas sold to the likes of Methanex, Balance Agri-Nutrients, Evonik, to use that to make something else. So there's about 80 PJ. And then everybody else, industrial, commercial, residential, is about 70 PJ. When I went to school, 80 and 70 equals 150, and 150 doesn't go into 20. So the challenge we've got as a country, as business, NZ Inc., is how do you get 150 to fit into 20? Lots of talk about how long Methanex might be operating in New Zealand. We've seen Balance being quite in and out of the news as they've been able to secure short-term gas supply contracts and then plan to shut down when they don't have gas. Lots of talk around electricity not using gas into the future. as a feedstock, and we've seen Genesis hold a significantly higher stockpile over last winter to overcome any shortages we might have in hydro, and some recent announcements of what that might look like into the future, with the hope that maybe black pellet will come along some point in the near future to run the Genesis plant in Huntly and reduce New Zealand's emissions by running on black pellet rather than coal. One of the downsides of less supply is obviously price goes up, and Marcus talked around some of the challenges that businesses and even residential are facing with significant price of gas. And for some businesses, it will be the cost of gas that drives that transition away, uh, although it is obviously challenging to get a contract. And we'll go to the next slide, please. And so what are we talking about? This is a map of the blue line on the North Island, showing where natural gas is reticulated around the country. And then when it gets to each of those towns and cities, then there's streets on top of that. It becomes quite challenging at those outpoints, the likes of Gisborne, Whangarei, Hastings, Wellington, where it is the end of the line. I am in Whangarei tomorrow, running a workshop with Eddie from the Auckland-based team, trying to talk to business users of gas in the Whangarei area. Another workshop like Marcus talked about, where we're just trying to make sure they understand the challenges in their region with gas being at the end of the line, and what those options are to transition away. The team are also busy planning what those workshops will look like in the early part of next year. So we're looking to do some specialised sector or demand side sessions to help people understand that transition. And as Marco said, people are at different stages in the journey, and so the ability to share the workshops are good to get people both on the supply and the demand side talking in those workshops about the challenges that they've got, the opportunities that they've taken, and how that can lead to transition going forward. To aid and assist that, we have a page on our website, being support for gas users, which provides a whole lot of self-help information. And then there are 3 funding opportunities on there that we've created to assist people with better understanding what that transition looks like. We launched a walkthrough energy assessment aimed at the SME part of the market. Should offer 2 or 3 energy efficiency opportunities in the first instance, and then a high level of what transition away would look like. The premise being, with the energy efficiency, if we can help reduce the impact of cost increase by helping you save a little bit of gas. And then a couple of products that we've had around for a number of years, we've just increased the availability of that by changing the thresholds on the Type 3 energy audits and the feasibility studies. Keen to have conversation with any enterprise that's struggling to understand what that transition might look like, or what those measures are that they can take. And so just do reach out to me, and I'm going to pass over to Ollie to take us through a wood energy update. Sorry.
Kia ora koutou. Hopefully everyone can hear me. I'm sure someone will tell me if they can't. So my name's Ollie. I'm the clean energy lead here at EECA. So under my responsibility, things like wood energy, as well as biogas, geothermal, and other renewable fuels. But today I'll just give a little bit of an update about some of the work that EECA's been doing in the wood energy space. Next slide, please. Before I take you through some of our recent initiatives, I just want to have a bit of a recap about some of the information that's been informing EECA about the opportunity and the potential for wood energy. And it all comes from our RETA program, which stands for Regional Energy Transition Accelerator. Through that program, we did analysis of all of the fossil-fueled industrial process heat sites across New Zealand. And for each site, we looked at what their potential was to move off fossil fuels to a renewable alternative. So primarily that's electricity or biomass. What we saw through that program was that the economics were pointing to bioenergy or biomass being a really economical solution, or the more economical solution for these end users. And some of the highlight numbers are shown here. So out of all of the sites assessed in the RETA program, around about 350 of them showed that biomass or wood energy was the most economic pathway, using about 30 PJs per year of annual biomass demand. So 2.4 gigawatts of installed biomass boiler capacity. If you think about the alternative for this heat energy being electricity, then really that's a capacity about 2 times the size of Huntly power generation, or the equivalent annual energy output of about 13 or 14 Harapaki wind farms, which has just been constructed in the Hawke's Bay. So significant upstream supply side implications if this process heat was to be electrified. But what we're seeing is that the economics are pointing to biomass being the preferred option in some of these cases. So next slide, please. So our RETA work didn't just look at the demand side. We also had a look at what is the potential for biomass supply within each region. And what we did was have a look at the existing extent of commercial plantation forestry, so utilising the forests that we've already got out there, and looked at the residues arising from those forestry practices, as well as some of the lower grade logs that are produced that could potentially be diverted to bioenergy. And so what we found from having a detailed look within each region about the potential to supply is that, yes, overall in New Zealand, we do have enough if we were to supply industrial process heat. So you saw on the previous slide, there was about 4 million tonnes per year of potential demand. But we've got about 8 million tonnes per year that could be available for supply. So that gave us confidence that, yes, there is enough from the existing extent of our forests to supply industrial process heat. I'll just highlight one of the regions on the supply side, just to put some of these, this graph in context, and that's if we have a look at the Northland region. And Marcos mentioned that within Northland, locally sourced biomass could supply most of their industrial process heat, which this is clearly demonstrating as well. But on the supply side, we've got around about 700,000 green tonnes per year that could be made available for bioenergy supply. That's about 5 PJs of energy. And geographically, if you think about how that could be transported to other demand sites, you've got Auckland just below there, where the green and the orange bars might fit quite nicely. To put that 5 PJs per year potential in context, that would be the equivalent energy outputs of 2 facilities the size of Nature's Flame. So Nature's Flame, if you're not familiar with it, it's a facility near Taupo that is Australasia's largest producer of white wood pellets. So a very significant facility there, while Northland could potentially home 2 of those facilities on the supply side. So this background work that we have been doing through RETA to quantify the potential demand and potential supply has informed a lot of what we've been working on this current financial year. So next slide, please. What have we been doing? So firstly, EECA have been part of the interagency government group that developed and produced the government's wood energy strategy and action plan. So this was a big bit of work coordinated by MB involving EECA and Te Rakau, the Ministry of Forestry. And that got released towards the end of last month. If you haven't had a read of that, do go to MB's website and pick it up. So included in the action plan are a lot of initiatives that are all centered around 6 objectives, and I've highlighted 4 of them here, around improving the availability of wood fibre supply, enabling private investment in production capacity, and reducing barriers for end users of wood energy. So those objective areas fit well within EECA's work programs. You may have seen recently, and Marcos mentioned this in his introduction as well, we have put some RFPs out into the market to help firm up the supply side of that wood energy equation. We often hear in the wood energy space about this chicken and egg between demand sides not being ready to convert because there isn't firm supply yet, and then large suppliers not being set up because they don't have the offtake agreement from confirmed demand sites. So that's one thing that we are trying to address here at EECA. But firstly, this calendar year, we've put out some RFPs to really try firm up the supply side of the equation. So the first one was investment cases for manufacturing facilities. It's a specific area of project development that we've heard has been really hard to gain financing for, because often large private or institutional investors will only fund a project from when it is investment ready, and they'll fund the capital for that project. But there's a whole lot of work and detailed engineering designs and other things that are needed in order to get that project investment ready. So we put out an RFP to help establish that side of these projects, which closed just over a month ago, and we are nearing completion for evaluating all of the responses that we got for those. Second RFP, which Marcos also mentioned, is co-funding for regional biomass aggregation facilities or biomass hubs, biomass terminals, whatever the market ends up wanting to call them. We're not fixed on that. But really we see a really strong benefit for having more decentralized facilities that are strategically located out of the forest, where forest harvesters and forest owners can aggregate their supply, do some pre-seasoning of that fuel to help increase the supply, decrease the cost, and enhance the resilience of fuel supply chains. So it's currently open on EECA's website, and it will close at the end of January for that opportunity. Next slide, please. So those RFPs kind of fit within EECA's targeted investment lever. We've also been busy behind the scenes creating resources that are all about the targeted information to help the market make decisions. And so we have updated our biomass boilers for industrial process heat page with lots of wonderful information on there to help energy users understand that option. We've also produced detailed case studies for the 4 sites that are named on this slide to really showcase how those projects unfolded, warts and all, and give details about how they established the supply chain for the fuel and implemented that boiler. We're actually working on a few more detailed case studies that will really unearth how you move from piped gas onto biomass, recognizing that moving from piped gas to biomass is a little bit different from moving from coal to biomass. So we will be dropping some of those case studies on gas to biomass early in the new year. And of course, ongoing, we have got continued engagement in the market between wood energy users and potential suppliers of wood energy. So that's mainly through the regional sector partnerships team that Paul leads, and we're actively engaging in each region with the demand side users on where they're at with their journey and options, and also engaging with potential suppliers and trying to connect them up. So it's pretty much all from me. I just want to mention as well on that previous RETA information that I was showing, if you haven't gone onto our website before and found all the RETA information, which has got all of the sites that were included and lots of graphs of the information, please do go have a look. Just Google EECA RETA and that should come up. And finally, from me, we're busy planning next financial year and beyond on what initiatives we can do in the wood energy space. So feel free to pop a question in the chat or flick me an email if you want to have a yarn about anything. Kia ora.
Hi there, everyone. Hopefully you can all hear me. Good morning. I'm Camilla Cochrane. I'm the delivery manager in the innovation and technology team. So I'm working across a number of different initiatives. For example, most recently, high temperature heat pumps, gas users and demand flex. So today, you've heard a little bit already from Marcos about some of our demand flexibility initiatives that are in the market. What I've been asked to do is give a little bit of an overview, high-ish level, to maybe set a little bit of the context and some of the strategy, so that you can see where these things fit. And as always, with any of the presentations we give, if anyone has any conversations or chats that they want to have with us afterwards, please do feel free to come and talk to some of the real experts in EECA. All right, next slide, please. So EECA's been operating in the demand flex space for the last several years because it's got a lot of potential to add value to energy users in the energy system, both now and into the future. Talking about doing things a little bit differently from how we've done in the past can provide benefits. And we're seeing some significant barriers to investment at the moment. It could be technical complexity, price signals, and so on. But what EECA's really wanting to do is reduce the risk, help people understand the options and opportunities, and work to make the options more attractive both to participants and potential investors to bring the market to life. Unused energy availability or flexibility can come from new or existing users. People can install battery energy storage systems and integrate them within industrial sites. You can tap into thermal storage or hot water systems that you already have on site, or indeed install new ones. Flexibility can be made available not just for the users and the owners of those sites, but within the wider system, locally, regionally, and nationally. Some examples could be motor loads like pumps or grinders that can be interrupted for a few minutes while the process draws from a buffer tank or hopper. If this is a peak time, you can certainly reduce your energy cost by looking at alternatives, refocusing, retiming what you're doing, or just going straight to a 1 or 2, for example, megawatt system of battery energy storage or thermal storage. So really helping businesses ride through a power outage, provide continuity or support during emergencies. So it can be used in a number of different ways. And we've got a quite large defined demand flexibility program of work in place across multiple sectors. And there's the whole ecosystem of participants, from aggregators, retailers, energy users, technology providers, flex traders, software producers, all coming together and looking at the opportunities that are available and working out how to unlock them for the benefit of everybody, really. In terms of what's on our slide here, principles that we apply include that we want energy users to be able to manage and understand their own energy use. We want them to have smart systems that will help them optimize and actually be able to adapt them for their own use, and have a secure and flexible electricity in system to enable this to happen. just in terms of the pie chart on the top there, the energy user really is the center of this whole ecosystem. So really, it's all about providing the right information at the right time and in the right format to people so that they can make decisions and reduce the amount of energy used in the system and help reduce energy prices at the end of the day for everybody. Next slide, please. You may have seen this graphic before. In fact, I have it on good authority. Some of you will have. I won't labor the point, but what we're really just trying to show is the traditional way of running our grids, unidirectional flow of energy is really becoming a thing of the past. We are now looking at embedded generation right across the network and the ability for consumers to both generate energy themselves and use it on site or export it into the grid. And that enhances the availability of power for others. And the other benefit also is to be able to see and control with customer consent, smart devices all through the grid to be able to optimize use and distribution of the existing supply. This gives power to all players in the market really to enhance the experience for everybody. And this really is the future we're working towards. Next slide, please. So what is demand flexibility? We keep using the term. It's unused energy and how we use it rather than just wasting it. We can put it towards, much better uses. There's 4 key components. First, we might, for example, shift loads of energy-intensive activity on a site to less expensive or congested times, and I mentioned the example earlier. Second, we're aiming to reduce pressure on the system by reducing demand at peak times, where pricing is highest, supply can be really constrained, availability might be a problem, there might be issues with, availability at all in a community emergency system. The third is the opportunity to monetize the capacity that isn't needed. So there's the benefit really for users to be able to increase their skill set, look at how they can participate in demand flexibility activity and drive down their own costs and energy inputs. Like I said, this benefits everybody. Available capacity being made available to others means that we can avoid a massive increase in the amount of investment that we have to make into the network. And lastly, thermal storage. So whether it's hot or cold or battery storage to enable users to make those choices, installing those on site gives so much power, to excuse the pun, to any, for example, solar capacity and panels that you might have put on site by enabling you to actually store that energy and use it at different times. And obviously the thermal storage as well. Next slide, please. So this slide shows some numbers from a Boston Consulting Group report that came out recently. You may have seen other numbers floating around showing different estimates about how much is going to need to be spent to create this future grid. Either way, the numbers are in the billions. So take your pick. The more we have to invest, the higher the price of electricity will become for everybody. And the other interesting fact on this slide is that the Commerce Commission are estimating that in the next few years, electricity costs without further intervention are expected to increase. And that'll translate to between $120 to $240 annual increase per household. So anything we can do together to mitigate this is just so important, and we really do need to act now. Next slide, please. In terms of what EECA does, I think this has been talked already about on some other slides, but just a few levers that we have at our disposal and that we're using in the demand flex space. So firstly, in the regulation space, we are a technology regulator. We currently regulate about 20 products across the residential, commercial, and industrial market. And the EECA Act itself is in the final stages of revision, and that'll enable us to regulate for connectivity and interoperability of technologies in the market. That really for us is the real benefit of working across the market now, interoperability is key. It enables everybody to benefit. When that Act change lands, the breadth and complexity of what we regulate will also increase. So we're looking, for example, to regulate more devices by requiring the inclusion of smart functionality in those devices right at point of sale, and to ensure that when New Zealanders invest in technology in future, that they can just plug and play in a demand-flexible grid as they go forward and benefit automatically. Our second lever is about information and motivation, and working with all parts of the market to gather intelligence and put it to use in building knowledge and finding solutions on all sides. And I mentioned that all sorts of different parties are coming out of the woodwork now, and so many more opportunities and new technical solutions and software solutions and just ways of working are coming out. And so, together we're looking for replicable projects that will justify government investment and build confidence in the market. What we're really looking for is evidence-based case studies. We want to prove that these things are beneficial and how others can go about installing them and benefiting themselves. And finally, we have targeted investment to uncover those powerful demonstration projects and enable application of new approaches. You may have seen our recent efficient demand flexibility RFP. It's closed. We are also, as Ollie is with his, assessing applications, and we're hoping that we'll have results of that out in the new year. So heaps going on. Watch the space. All right, I think that's me. I'll hand over now back to you, Paul. Oh, to Richard, excuse me.
Right. Kia ora koutou, Richard Briggs. I'm the Group Manager, Delivery and Partnerships, and bringing to you this morning a heavy vehicle update. Next slide, please. Freight keeps our economy moving. Each year, over 300 million tonnes of freight, mostly by around 160,000 trucks moving around the country, covering more than 30 billion tonne kilometres. What makes that an interesting number is freight volumes are expected to continue to rise and rise by over 50% in the next 20 years. Also, right now, the sector's staring down one of the biggest transitions. We're being asked to move more goods at a lower cost with fewer emissions, which is a huge task. But that's really where innovation in technology and business operations hopefully will show up the strongest. We also recognise that market conditions are very challenging. New vehicle sales in the sector are down by over 30% year on year, and there's been a dramatic rise in freight companies being wound up. Many organisations are reporting that no risk like-for-like vehicle replacement, when absolute necessary, is their best action to take in this market. At EECA, we are building momentum. We're doing a lot of work at how we can help industry take practical and confident steps towards low-emission freight. Over the last few years, we've been running the low-emission Transport Fund, and we've co-funded projects that put real vehicles on the road, overcoming barriers, creating market confidence to invest, and we've done a huge range of vehicles. Early electric heavy truck deployments, hydrogen truck trials, low-emission equipment in ports and logistics hubs. Also, not just theoretical case studies, but actual real machinery on the ground, providing us real-time data to help inform decision makers. We've also partnered with Haringa, and we now have up and running in the Upper North Island 4 hydrogen refuelling sites, together with 20 long-haul demonstration vehicles at various stages of production, and all of those vehicles are expected to be on the road by the end of January. We have in play currently the Low Emission Heavy Vehicle Fund, and that offers 25% co-funding on new clean technologies and also support for vehicle conversions. Interestingly now, with some of the emerging Chinese sourced vehicles entering our market, the upfront capex is at parity and in some cases even lower than diesel using this fund support. But momentum is still building, and we're working with the industry to identify what are now the non-price barriers that are preventing the uptake that we need to take on. And it's probably important to stress that, like in any sector we work with, fuel switching should follow efficiency, not lead it. So freight is no different. There are many opportunities to measure and optimize freight efficiency ahead of fuel switching. Most are well known, many are forgotten or ignored in the rush to undertake those tasks. And interestingly, the increasing role of AI in route optimization and backhaul management is also going to be critical to an efficient freight network. So through our partnerships, we're working with industry associations and the market to stimulate uptake. The approach includes development of a range of tools to improve freight efficiency, confidence in investment, and create a demand pull for zero-emission trucks. So the three that I want to highlight here, the first one is in partnership with Transporting New Zealand. They've published a 10-question Green Fleet self-assessment tool that allows transport businesses to estimate their emissions. It allows operators to review what actions they've already taken and identify opportunities for reducing their emissions footprint within their fleet. The results are aimed at stimulating discussions with management staff and customers and highlighting the benefits of accelerating a commitment to decarbonisation. Sustainable Business Council has announced a Clean Freight Certificate program, a relatively simple play to create demand for low-emission freight, and it's designed to reward freight companies that invest in low-emission vehicles and to give businesses a credible way to decarbonise their emissions. The system works by allowing freight operators using cleaner vehicle technologies such as hydrogen and electric to generate those certificates. Those certificates can then be purchased by businesses wanting to reduce their Scope 3 emissions. So the interesting one with this one is when it's implemented, the tool's designed to create a market pull, pushing freight operators towards zero-emission vehicles in response to market demand. It'll support both freight providers investing in low-emission trucks as well as businesses looking to reduce their environmental impact. And then finally, National Road Carriers has introduced a TCO tool to aid businesses run scenarios to manage existing costs and compare the cost performance of low and zero-emission trucks against traditional diesel trucks using real-world routes, usage patterns, and enabling operators to model whether their new investments will be viable for them. The tool's designed to provide operators confidence in running scenarios specific to their operations, whether it's applying for a new route, buying a truck, looking to justify a price increase, or even just review the efficiency of their current operations. It really shows them what actual costs will be to the business. The tool can also explore what it means to switch from a diesel vehicle to a zero-emission electric or hydrogen truck. The tool delivers a side-by-side comparisons, costs and benefits, and demonstrates while some costs we know will go up, such as the CapEx, but then OpEx also gets reduced and shows one against the other. The model clearly illustrates this trade-off, helping businesses understand the net business impact. So as you can appreciate, the shift from technology demonstration to early mass adoption technology and creating that market confidence is more than just an attractive supply-side pricing. It's enabling businesses to better understand their own operations, where efficiencies can be made, and realization of the benefits of the technology on their bottom line, and market share growth from providing prospective clients reduced Scope 3 emission opportunities. And then finally, the next phase of our work will look to identify what a zero-emission national refuelling network looks like and how to provide the infrastructure to minimise operational disruption and enhance market confidence in investing in zero-emission freight movements. Thanks, guys. Back to you, Paul.
Thanks, Richard. It's been a really informative session, and it's always a challenge as the host to keep people on time, particularly when you've got passionate people talking on topics that they are passionate about. We've had some 17, 18 questions posted, have managed to answer nearly a dozen of them, and there's 6 that we haven't quite got to. Those that we don't answer now, we will put an answer to those questions before we send out the recording. Two that I just wanted to very quickly address because I'm conscious that it is 11:58. Great question from Chris. Why has been at the end of the gas pipeline bad? I'll pick Gisborne and Whangarei as two good examples. So in the case of Whangarei, there is 1,200 gas connections in the Whangarei area. Two gas connections, one company account for more than 90% of the gas being consumed in the Whangarei area. If that one customer switches one or both of their sites away from natural gas onto a renewable energy source, then the other 1,198 gas connections will have to wear the cost of running the pipe up the gas to Whangarei, and so it will become very expensive. Likewise, in Gisborne, there are 4 large gas users, industrial, commercial customers. If those 4 switch away from gas, then the cost of that pipeline gets spread across everyone else and just makes daily charges extremely expensive. We're seeing Commerce Commission come out this week with revised price pathing for consultation for gas, which is proposing increased costs over the next couple of years, recognising there's not going to be growth in customer numbers. Always happy to talk about it and certainly talk at a lot more detail in our workshops. The other one I was going to address was from Margarita around the barriers for energy efficiency, solar storage, EVs, and in addition to EAs, EDBs, who else should be at the table? This is definitely one of those triangle situations. There's good conversation to have with EDBs and EAs because there are some definite benefits and incentives for them. But at the end of the day, you need a customer to help also drive some of those outcomes. And so the starting point tends to be with the EA, EDB, but we're also happy to have conversation with customer first before and try and make that triangle because it needs all 3 parts to actually help us understand what the barriers are and overcome. At that point, I am going to call time on the session. I appreciate you dialing in and listening. If there's any follow-up, there's plenty of email addresses, predominantly mine, in the chat, so please do reach out. Happy to continue going on with conversation. Thanks for attending today.